that means that it's a cancer. Now, it's not a cancer that you can do chemotherapy on and have it be gone. No, this is your DNA. This is, at least with me, mine was caused by a cell mutation. I have I think it's KIT KC. Um, I haven't looked it up for a long time, so forgive me for not knowing, but I have the mutation, which means um, it's not curable. They have experimented with uh, bone marrow biopsy transplants, bone marrow transplants, and I did have a biopsy, and my siblings had biopsies clear back in the 90s, because the doctors were hopeful that if I had a transplant, it would take the mastocytosis away. And I had one brother who ended up being an exact match for me. They said this never happens with siblings who aren't twins because he's a dead-on match. And so I got my hopes up and I thought, oh my God. And then they told me what I was going to have to do to have one because I didn't know what was required. Well, you have to kill your own, your own, basically your own self, your own bone marrow, what makes you you. You have to kill all of that, and then they can put in the new bone marrow from the donor. Well, to do that, you have to have like chemotherapy, I think is the way they do it still. And the doctors were like, we don't think you'll make it through chemotherapy. And my insurance wasn't wanting to pay anyway, so I gave up that idea. Um, I still joke with my brother and say, wear your seatbelt just in case I need you. Um, and they have tried it with other patients over the years that I've heard about. Most of the time, because most of the cases are from a mutation, they improve a little bit if they don't get deathly ill through the chemotherapy. But then the mastocytosis comes back because it's your body. It is confused and it thinks it needs to make too many mast cells. And that's just something that we have to live with, the majority of us anyway. So when I saw this cancer doctor, I started going to him. I was in my early 30s, and I would go and sit with all the other cancer patients, and most of them were older, at least 50s, 60s, 70s. And they would all look at me and say, oh, we're so sorry, you're so young. And I'm like, it's fine. I'm not here for real cancer. It's just a pretend cancer. And they're like, okay, we don't understand. And never had time to explain it to them. But this doctor really helped me because he checked my blood constantly and he did something for me that no one had done before, which surprised me because I had been to the University of Utah. He gave me what is called the tryptase test, and that measures the amount of histamine in your system, which tells them how active your mastocytosis is. A regular person, as I understand it, their histamine levels or their tryptase test should be around 10. Some people are like 100 with this illness. The lowest mine has ever gotten down to was a 13, and I was like, yay, I'm in heaven. It's moved back up a little bit. That's a whole nother story that we'll do a different time because this video is getting too long. But that put me on a path where I was getting seen by somebody who was really knowledgeable about blood and about cancers and about cell problems and living with them, because he was an oncologist, but he was also a hematologist. So if you're not seeing a hematologist oncologist, if you're just going to an allergist, I recommend that if you want, you can keep your allergist. Most allergists that I have been to, and I've been to like 10, push me off and say, I don't know enough about this illness to take care of you. So I always end up back at either a specialist who's an allergist. I see him now, but he's, bless his heart, he's in his 90s. And so I'm not going to be able to see him much longer because he's going to end up retiring at some point. But out of the 100 doctors that I've seen, and that's 100 plus over the years, the ones that have helped me the very most have been the hematologist, oncologist. So when you go, if you haven't had one yet, tell them you need a tryptase test. It's a blood test. They'll run all of your blood numbers, but that one is important. And it's important to check it maybe once every 6 months, once a year, just to keep an eye on what your mastocytosis is doing. Because as it progresses or as it changes, mine changes back and forth um, for another video, but you need to know that number, and you need to not let it scare you. Um, Mine went one time from 13, it jumped up to 39 in 6 months, and I panicked and I thought, oh my God, this is it, it's going the wrong direction. It had been much higher before that, but then it took this huge drop. And part of the thing that I want to explain to you today, and I'm sorry if it hasn't come across, mastocytosis, excuse my language, but it's a mind fuck. And you need to be on top of it. Does it suck? Yes. Is it going to make you wish for death? A lot of times. As one of my doctors said, this isn't going to kill you, but it's going to make you wish that you were dead some days. That turned out to be true. On the other hand, another doctor of mine said, you're not going to make it to 35 because of this illness. It's extremely aggressive in you. And so prepare to make arrangements for your children. But when he told me that, I thought, all of my siblings are a lot younger than me, most of them. My youngest sister is 16 years younger than me. I'm like, I don't have anyone to leave my children to. No, I'm not doing this. And so I just decided I may be wishing for death some days when I'm so sick. It's a chronic illness that is going to be with me for the rest of my life. But I'm not throwing the towel in because I don't have anyone to take care of these babies. So you have to have the same mindset. And literally, I spent a good part of 20 years mostly in bed sick or on the couch sick, and people knew me as the mom who was always in her pajamas. Now, when I wasn't sick, having symptoms, I was overdoing it, which caused me to be sick the next day. You have to find your balance, and you have to learn to listen to your body. That was one of the hardest things for me, was you have to listen to your body. If it's telling you it's tired, you need to rest. You need to take a nap. You need to lay on the couch. If you have a little child like I did, let them read a book to you. Watch a movie. We watched a lot of movies, and then we would talk about them, but it would help with the mom guilt because I thought, at least, I'm doing something with them. I'm not just sleeping, which was a big problem for me at times, especially when I had teenagers. But listen to your body. If you know something is going to make you sick, even if it's your favorite thing to eat, do not eat it. It's not worth it. Trust me. I've got it down to I know I can be okay if I eat 4 red vine licorices. I love them. But I used to eat a whole pack and I would be totally sick for days and days because I'm allergic to red dye. It's not worth it. Know your limits and don't push them. This is an Aries talking to you. That's what my entire sign is about, is pushing our limits. So do better than I did. Take care of your body, because if you want to make it 30 years like I have, you have to learn to listen to your body. This is the only body you're going to get this time around, and it has to last you. So do whatever you can. Here's some of my advice. When my children were younger and I had to be active and my bone pain was so bad I couldn't walk around the block, I got a wheelchair and they pushed me in the wheelchair. I was in the wheelchair. I used the wheelchair whenever we went to amusement parks, whenever we went to a regular park. When I had to go shopping at a big store, I would take my wheelchair. If your insurance won't buy you one, use the ones provided in the store. Rent one at the zoo. I had to go to the zoo in a wagon one time for my nephew's birthday. I was so embarrassed, and I thought, what the hell? You know, who am I trying to impress? You're here, you're enjoying the family, just sit in the wagon, you know, don't worry about it. So do what you need to do. We would be to the amusement park. Heat would set me off. I live in Utah, so we have two extremes where there's so cold or we're so hot. I would be feeling my spots coming out. I would be feeling my face getting flush. I had taken all the medicine I could take, and it was mostly Benadryl back then, which was a love-hate relationship with me. So I learned that if I put cold drinks in a fanny pack and I could take out my can of Sprite or whatever and put it on my face, put it on the back of my neck, that would help. But then it would come back. So the kids said, I don't remember which child, but they said, Mama, pour some water on yourself. So we got in the habit of taking a water bottle, filling it up at, well, sometimes we would end up just buying another water bottle, but if they had a drinking fountain, say in the old days, I don't know if they even still do this, but at the amusement park, would fill it up, and they would have fun pouring water over my head. I would look like a drowned rat, and probably people would think, what the hell are you kids doing to this poor handicapped woman in a wheelchair? You're pouring water on her. But I was able to stay at the amusement park with them the whole time and not have to go and leave them or make us leave early. The moment I would get in someone's car, if they had a air freshener hanging up on their window like people used to do, I think a lot of people have the other kind now, but I would immediately ask them if I could put it in the glove box. I would ask people, please don't wear any perfume or hairspray around me. In fact, when I had surgeries over the years, one time a nurse had forgotten and put on some perfume, and she read my chart and immediately said, I got to have somebody else take this patient. I used to walk in with a big folder full of instructions for the ER or for physicians, or especially for the hospital. If I had surgeries, I would make sure that I personally spoke with the anesthesiologist beforehand so that he could do the research on me, because you're going to need special attention. You're not a regular person. You think you are. And I like to just say we're special. And I had a doctor who told me, I know that you think you're young and healthy, and you are, but you're special. And you need to always have an EpiPen with you. You need to not be afraid to use it, because majority of the people who die from anaphylaxis, and that's just regular people, you know, have an EpiPen with them, but they wait too long to use it. So don't be afraid to use it. You'll survive. Yeah, it's a big needle, but you'll survive, and you'll be glad you used it. So many things, and in different videos I'll give you more hints, but now they have those cooling rags that I put around them, like if I'm going to go fishing and I know it's going to be hot, or if I'm going to be at a park and it's going to be too hot. They work so well. Make sure you use umbrellas to keep the sun off of you if the sun is a major trigger for you, like it is me. Don't take your shower quite so hot. Make sure you take your meds when you're supposed to. And if you need some extra ones, extra antihistamines, if you're flaring, talk to your doctor and make sure it's okay, but take them. And if you need a rest in the middle of the daytime, schedule a rest in the middle of the daytime. And one more important thing, if you're working, if you're earning money, or if you have in the past and you can no longer work, apply for disability, because I waited too long. I waited until I was no longer married to my kid's father before I applied. Had I applied for it when I first became disabled, when I first was diagnosed with this illness, I would have gotten like twice as much money a month. But it is an approved disability, so apply. And even if you haven't worked, you can get SSI because it's a disability and because it's an orphan disease, which means that it's so rare that most money set aside for research on how to heal this illness isn't going to be used on an orphan disease because it doesn't help enough people. So it's not like cancer or Alzheimer's or something where all of these millions of dollars are just going to get poured into it. That's another reason why it's an approved disability. You do have to go to one of their physicians, but if you've been diagnosed with mastocytosis, do it, because there will be times when you may need to be on Medicaid, because if you're like me, my insurance, I'm not insurable. So definitely do the paperwork, go through the hoops, do whatever it is you have to do, because you're in this for the long haul and you want to keep a good positive attitude. And if you're worried about bills, if you're worried that nobody's going to cover you, if you're worried that you're not going to be able to afford treatment, that's all the stress that your body can't take. So let's cross those off the list and keep working down, because you can survive this. I'm living proof. I've had 14 surgeries and major surgeries, and I'm still here. And they weren't because of the mastocytosis. I've had 2 open heart surgeries, which no one with mastocytosis has had, so I'm still in the record books. I've had teams, literally different teams, 3 or 4 teams of doctors at a time working on me in surgery. I have had 3 near-death experiences because of everything, and so those are for another video. But my point is, you can do this. I'm way past 35. Don't give up. And it's not hereditary, thank God. So cross that off your mommy guilt list or your dad guilt list. You can do this, and you can always say, well, there's other people that have it much worse than me. So don't give in to the temptation of feeling sorry for yourself for too long. You're allowed once in a while. That's just human nature. But then, put your big girl panties back on, and today's a new day. Example, me. I've been on and off sick for most of the past month. My room looked like shit. I hadn't vacuumed. It still needs to be dusted, but you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to have cameras come in and take photos for, some home decorating magazine. So really, who the hell cares? Take care of you. Take care of your family. And one of the biggest ways you can take care of your family is by taking care of you first. So I'm sorry that this has been, but you know me, level 61, my brain goes everywhere. And yes, by the way, there is a thing called masto brain, which means we have brain fog sometimes, which is okay too, because who the hell wants to remember everything? Anyway, if you have mastocytosis, if you know someone who has it, comment, let me know, ask me questions. I'll try to do another video at a different day, but honestly, right now I'm not feeling too great. So I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to rest. I'm an artist, so I might sketch a little bit, but I am going to rest because I'm feeling kind of nauseous. I'm going to go take a nausea pill. Pills are our friends. Take care. Be safe. Love you.